Welcome to Laugh and Learn with Vern. I'm your host, Eric Vernston. Thank you so much for tuning in or listening. I have a very special guest today. Please introduce yourself to the crowd.
I'm Shelby and I'm an intuitive guide. I have my own business called Propagating Alignment, and we are going to talk about more of like what my sessions are and the work that I'm dealing with. But I'm pretty lucky because I got to do a session with him a couple weeks ago. I'm excited to talk about it.
We did a session a couple weeks ago. And since then, I've felt more free and things have went extremely well in my life. It could be, maybe it's just a coincidence. Things were just aligned that way anyways, but I'm really not someone who totally believes in coincidences. Let's talk about, before we get to that, what propagating alignment. I feel more aligned. Sounds like you feel more aligned. How'd this start?
Well, I went through my own spiritual awakening a few years ago, and I was just like slowly brought to this and like what my actual purpose is and how I'm meant to help people. And I got the name Propagating Alignment because it's like when you propagate plants, you take a piece of it and you spread it to others. And that's kind of what I'm doing. You know, I'm taking my own spiritual awakening and I'm spreading that to other people. But also I realized that my gifts are being able to give guidance to people to find alignment in their life. And alignment is that freedom, that peace that you felt after our session, and just feeling and knowing what your authentic self is.
What was it like when you started to think, I'm not doing what I should be doing? Was there like a moment, or was there a certain like sequence of events that led you to think, you know, I don't like this life I'm living isn't going with what I think I should be having?
Well, the more you follow what makes you happy, and like the more you get used to making those decisions in your life of what does make me happy, what is taking care of myself, what is self-love and taking care of my well-being, the more those things in your life that aren't aligned, they naturally will fall away. They naturally like make your whole body not feel okay. Like with my job, my last job, I just quit on Monday. You just being there, nothing felt good. Like it would put me in a depression. Like I would drain me of everything I had. I couldn't focus on the things that made me happy. So I knew that wasn't aligned with me anymore. And so I left.
What happened? You just said that was it? Because before we talked and you said, I think at the beginning of the year is when I'm gonna leave. Was there just a moment where you're like, I can't do this anymore? Like what happened?
Yeah, so I planned on giving her my notice. I mean, I've worked with her for 2 years and we had a good relationship, but I showed up on Monday and everything about that day irked me. I went against everything that I am, everything I want to be. And it was draining from the time I walked in the door, and she pushed me over my edge and I left. I saw one patient and then I left.
What happened since?
I've been living what I'm supposed to do. You know, I get to be at home with my dog, the best coworker in the world. I get to do the work that I love. I get to do something that's actually fulfilling for me. And I just get to feel the support of the universe, like knowing that this is what I'm supposed to do. And this is what makes me happy. And like all these things are just falling into place. And it's cool to see.
When you've been going through this, so you said you started kind of a couple years has been your process to get to this point.
Let's see, I moved to Chicago over 5 years ago. So probably about a year and a half after that. So 4+ years.
What were those initial feelings like?
It's just like your reality just kind of is turned upside down and nothing feels real because you're starting to understand what isn't aligned with you, what is, and you learn stuff about yourself that you didn't know that you had. And like, you hear these things that are like the spiritual woo woo and you don't believe in it. And then you start to be like, oh, no, that's real. And it's who I am. So
I had a similar situation where I figured, this is about 2017, 2018, where I'm like, I don't think I really want to be doing this career. There's like good aspects of it that I like. And actually I'm going to start doing some financial planning again, because I did like some of that, but I was like, I don't think this is like for me. And it was it was tough because I was living in the city I wanted to live in. I was kind of living this lifestyle I thought I wanted to live. And it was like, and I was in that time I was dating someone, a fine person, but like there was something off about that too. And I just like couldn't get like a grasp on it. And actually meditations what helped me a lot to kind of realize not that like I wasn't thinking about it. It was like the space that I created all of a sudden was like, yeah, this is kind of what I want to do. Like, what were some of the what are some of the practices that you've done that helped you to figure out or get to the point you're at now?
Well, it's like that false identity that you were just talking about. Like you created this world for yourself based off of what you're almost conditioned to believe your whole life. And like it's weird because you worked so hard to get where you are. Like I too, like me as well. Like moving to Chicago. You feel like you created the career that you wanted. You got into a space of your career you wanted. But for me, it was meditation, journaling, affirmations, like you said, and just like books that helped me change my perspective and
What are
like the way I see my life.
what are some of those books?
Power of Now for sure. Eckhart Tolle. Any of his books, they're very just like source connected. And Asking It Is Given. I'm a huge fan of Abram Hicks, huge Abram Hicks lover, and just understanding the law of attraction and understanding like your connection with your well-being.
When you talk about the first book, Power of Now, which I've read, I think I'm about a third to halfway through and love it. What do you mean? You said something about source.
Yeah. So when you get to the end of his books, or if you watch any of his, like he was on Oprah, he never says like, this is who I like, this is like, I have this information. It's him connected to source where he receives that information. And that's how my work is too. When I do tarot readings and sessions with people, I'm channeling from source. I'm channeling from their guides. I'm not like, this isn't information that I just like, no, it's given to me. And so all of his work too, it's like, he's so humble. It's like everything that he creates is of source.
When you work with people, what's something that when you say you channel from the source, like what if someone was like, I'm interested, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, like what do you like for you, like, or what's that process like? I mean, I know from my end, I set an intention and I was open, but I guess I'm more spiritually connected now than I used to be. I had a meditation practice going in. I would do some affirmations. What about someone who they know something's a little off, but they're not really sure, but maybe they don't have like a spiritual practice? Like, what would you recommend for someone like that who potentially wants to work with you?
Like just building their own spiritual practice for themselves instead of having a session. Is that what you mean?
What if they're like, I want to do a session, but I'm not really sure. I don't really have a spiritual practice.
Well, that's what's cool with my sessions too. You know, when I'm connecting to source, I personally work in the Akashic Records. I can spin a little bit about that later, but it's whatever they need. It's what's going to meet them at where they're at. So it's not something where they need to have this all encompassing knowledge or have an understanding of this world that they're being opened up to. It's going to meet them where they are, and they're going to receive all the answers they need at this time. That's what's cool working in the Akashic Records is like, I am given the answers to everything they need in this moment. That's what it is. It's working in this moment. I'm not working in the past. I'm not working in the future. I'm working in this moment, what they're working through and what they need.
What's the Akashic Records?
So the Akashic Records, it's kind of, I guess you could say in the Bible, I'm not religious, but what's that big book of life?
Genesis, I think.
No, your guess is probably better than ours.
I think it's Genesis. This is bad. I actually started here. I'll pull you up. I actually been slowly reading the Bible again because I'm like, I don't remember like any of this. And I feel like if I'm going to be a practicing Christian, I probably should read this thing again because I know there's some really good stories in there. So yeah, I actually am. I'm reading the Bible and I'm actually taking some comedy notes. So here, I'll read you part of it. And I don't mean to mock. I'm not mocking the Lord. I'm not trying to blaspheme, but it's kind of wild. Listen to this. So here's one. This is about the descendants of Adam. His name, he named him Noah. No, we're not gonna get there. Okay. Lamech lived 500 years and 595 years. Okay, after the birth of Noah, and had other sons and daughters. Oh no, this is the line. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, I get it. Like, not trying to blaspheme the Lord or whoever wrote that book. But for me, I'm like, this guy's having sex at 500 years old. That's wild. This is a wild book.
Well, that's why I love the Power of Now. You know, it breaks down all religions. It's not bashing religion. It's not it's just helping you understand that spirituality and like connecting with yourself. That's what spirituality is. It is all of those religions in one. It's like all of the basic thoughts of those religions in one. It's connecting with yourself and just being a good person and being who you are.
I got off topic with that Bible thing. And that wasn't even, I don't even want to really, I guess, again, not trying to blaspheme the Lord. I just think it's like, if that's true, that's a, you know, we need to know more, because like testosterone counts dropping across the globe. Like, how is this guy doing it at 500 and people are having issues at 30? But let's go back to what was it? The records?
Oh, Akashic Records. So think
Yeah,
of like
Akashic
the
Records.
The
What are
Akashic
they?
I think of like I think it's like the Book of Life.
Like Book of Life. Okay. Like,
yeah, but Akashic Records is different. It is your entire records, like all of your lifetimes in the past, everything going forward. It's you're all encompassing like your soul's path. And so a lot of times in a session, there can be things that are past life related that are holding you back. And so I can channel what that block is, what that past life belief that you brought into this lifetime is, because if you brought something in from a past lifetime, it's clearly heavy and it's what's blocking you. And like someone will come in and they tell me there's something with a certain relationship, or like they're having an issue at their job. That belief is usually affecting their entire life in all aspects. And a lot of times when that happens, it's past life related. And so I can channel what that is, so you can just release it. And like you said, after our session, you felt like you were released from something that was heavy. And that's a lot of times what I think we did talk about, a past lifetime for you. So
I was having issues with kind of, I think we talked about like almost like a dual life, where I had this life. I think I don't know if I told you this, but I've told my girlfriend this, but I'm like, I kind of feel like I died at some point between like February and March 2020, because I had this completely different life. I lived somewhere. I was on and off dating someone. I had this career. I had this identity. And now I've completely switched. And I think one of the issues you and I talked about is like, I feel like I was still kind of, I don't want to say dragging is the right word, but I like didn't know what to do with that past identity, if that makes sense. Like I was like, it's still there. And then I'd go to Chicago and kind of be like, oh, like, is this really like who I am? Like, should I be this guy again? Even though I have this wonderful career, I now have a family. I'm like, but like, there's still like the pull of like, you know, like, is that actually who I am? Like, should I try to get my family in Chicago and try to combine them? And after talking with you, it became very clear that it's okay to be nostalgic. It's okay to enjoy and appreciate the things that I built before, but that's not who I am anymore. That doesn't give me energy. And it really, at the time, it didn't give, like, for example, Toastmasters. I used to go around and talk at all these clubs. I loved it. It gave me so much energy and joy. I could spread messages. I could learn. It was like this, it was entrepreneurial. I'm sure you have that entrepreneurial bug. Clearly, you've got this business, your work, you got different social media things going on. It's really interesting. I loved it. It was all these things. Now Toastmasters is on Zoom. I know we're on Zoom. Irony alert. It's not the same. It's not that connection, that energy of being in a room and getting people to laugh. It's not there right now. And so it's kind of like one of those things where even with Toastmasters, I'm trying to figure out what to do, because the energy is just it's not there for me.
well, Zoom could be your block, and you feeling that, because when I do sessions with people, I can feel energetically everything, and so it's like maybe releasing that block of how you feel Zoom is, and understanding that it can be the same thing. It's just creating a new belief for it.
How did you okay, hold on, before I get into the business. So okay, so you're saying releasing my block of Zoom. What do you mean? Like, maybe I need to go, this isn't for me, stop doing it?
No, like changed how you view, like when I do a session, I'm fully connected with your energy. I'm fully connected with everything. Maybe it's because I connect with your energy through energetic work prior, but you can do the same thing with like your Zoom calls. You're connecting with your audience, like set that intention that you're going to get the same feeling that you get when you're in the room with someone, because you're in front of everyone. You can feel that energetically. It's just connecting with it. Like change your belief on it.
Okay. So maybe instead of because I've kind of looked at it as like I'm talking to a screen, but that's probably not it's not exactly connecting with energy now.
Here's your belief. Release that. You're talking to all these people who are on your Zoom call. You're connecting with their energy. So just change your belief. Boom. We just released your resistance. I think we just did in 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, kind of. So where does this come from? I mean, do you look back on your past and you're like, yeah, I kind of had these thoughts and then I put them aside? Or is this more of just you've really had this spiritual awakening over the last 3 or 4 years that's carried you here? Like, do you connect the dots from something in your past that's like, you know what, that was interesting, but I kind of brushed it off, but looking back on it, that was a big moment?
Well, I mean, I think we had talked about this already too, about how when we're younger, we're fully like connected to who we are. Like we just show up in this world. Like think of like a baby. As your child gets older, like you didn't teach them to be this certain way, like personality wise. Like my niece is absolutely terrifying. She is nothing like my brother and sister-in-law. And it's just, she is who she is. And then like over time, the world almost blocks who you are because of conditioning. So it's like you go and you have these moments when you're little and you can kind of look back and remember those, and then you're blocked from all of it, and then you are getting older and then you are so fully detached from who you truly are. So you go through the spiritual awakening, you start recognizing those things that make you happy, that conditioning falls away, and you start just living your truth. And my truth and my authentic self is helping people in this way. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think what was
a long way to get there, but yeah.
Why do you think about like, what do you think about why, like when you're working with someone, like do you have like, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. You go in and you connect spiritually.
Yeah.
And for you, like we even talked about this before. I said, is there anything you want to talk about? And you said like, it'll be there if it's there. Like the answers will be there. Is that how you operate with a session too?
Yeah. So I am completely released I guess people would resonate with my ego. I completely release that. When someone books a session with me, that's their permission for me to open up their records. Before I do any session, I clear my energy. That's releasing my ego, putting myself at a high vibration. I do a meditation where I go in and I open up their records. There's like a process with it, and since I did that, I followed those pathways. It's open, and I know that anything I receive in those moments is from their records, and it's what they need to hear. And it's just I follow it, and it's something that took time and practice, but it's true. Everything that they need to hear, like in your session, it came.
Let's say someone is skeptical and they're listening to this and they've seen some of your videos and they're like, yeah, I heard him, I heard her, it all sounds good, but like for me, like I've got like there's just no way. Like what do you say to someone who's like, there's no way that I would get I just wouldn't get any benefit from this?
I mean, if they feel called to get a session from me, that means that they're open to it, and that means they need the work that I have to give them. Like I have the message that they need at this time, and if that's how they feel, I mean, that's how they feel. I'm not going to push my beliefs on anyone, but if they were called to my work, they're called to my work, and they need my work that I can get them. So I don't need to push anything on anybody.
So when you have a session, and we went through this, you have your own practice to open up. I think you mentioned having asked me to set an intention, right?
Yeah.
Was there anything? I don't remember. I don't think there was anything else, right? It was just kind of like set your intention and then we'll kind of go from there.
Well, it's that energetic kind of opening and shift of energy. When you ask for a session, that's you opening yourself up to my energy and receiving the messages that you need. So that's the only thing you need to do is be open to receiving it, and trusting that you're going to, or set the intention to be open to receiving and trust that you're going to receive what you need to hear. That's all.
You are all in on this. You just said you quit your job.
I did.
You walked in, it didn't work. You're like, I'm done. And you were kind of thinking that before, that it was the beginning of the year and now you're here. What you said, like, were the first couple of days, were they like, are you nervous at all? Like, there's a lot of people out there that are probably listening to this like, wow, she just quit her job. Like I can't even imagine doing that. Like what has this week been like?
Well, that first day, I had no intention of walking in and leaving my job, especially in the middle of a day. And at first, like I left and I was like, oh, what am I doing? But it just felt so divinely guided. And I felt so supported in those first 2 days. I was freaking out because like, I didn't have money saved. Wasn't planning for this. I just did it. But the more I just trusted and saw how all these events really were supported and divinely guided, and how free and at peace I feel now, like I know it was the right decision. And I now have the energy to take care of myself, and I'm given all like the creativity that I need to help push my business. And like, it's so funny how all this is aligned, like my podcast this week with you. It's all right after I quit my job as well, you know? So it's, at first, yes, it was scary, but then I just pushed myself into the belief of I am supported, worked with those affirmations, and now I'm just totally cool with it and at peace. And I love being self-employed.
We have the website. I know you have an Instagram, propagating.alignment.
Yep.
And then you're doing some TikTok videos too.
Yeah, I just opened up TikTok, and it's this whole new world. And I've never been a social media person. It's never been my thing. And so it's like breaking that block for myself. But also I know I'm meant to do more reels, like helping people understand more practical spirituality and like little things that they can do throughout their day to clear their energy and feel connected and start building that practice for themselves.
What are some of those things people can do?
Well, my first couple of videos are with crystals. I feel like crystals are becoming more mainstream now, and a lot of people have them, but they don't really use them for what they are. And it's like with affirmations, you can program any crystal to have a certain belief or affirmation. And by holding that and connecting with that crystal, you can align yourself with that belief.
What do you mean program a crystal? Like what, I guess like for me, the lawyer part of me is like, well, how does that, yeah, I'm way too overthinking. But like, what does that look like? Are you like, for you, like, are you holding it and you're talking to it? Like what is that?
No, it's almost like spell work, which is woo-woo to people, but it works. If you write it down, write that affirmation that you want on a piece of paper, put the crystal over it, like create like power behind your ritual, like light a candle, say your affirmations, you put that on there. Since you did this practice, you did that ritual, it's programmed into it. It's the same concept of with setting an intention, but it's making it more powerful because you're utilizing the power and like the energy of a crystal.
Do you keep if you want that to focus on that intention, is that when you would bring it out? Do you like, what's like a crystal like practice?
So I had one when I started doing sessions and like tarot readings that I really doubted my own connection with my psychic abilities and like my third eye. And so I programmed that one to help give me more confidence with that and just feel connected with it. And so anytime I did a session, I brought it with me. But there's some people who will make them into necklaces, or like girls will carry them in their bra or have them in their pockets. And it helps. It's powerful. But if you don't believe in that, that's not something you can connect with. That's not for you. You know, it's like, once again, I'm not trying to force anything on anyone, but these little things, they help.
You said woo-woo a couple moments ago. Woo.
Yeah.
What do you get feedback from people? It's like, is this kind of woo? Like, what is woo-woo to you?
Like people who doubt spirituality, like they think it's like fake, or like when I tell people I do tarot readings, they're like, oh, that's devil's work or something. I'm like, I'm just not for you. I'm not for you. You're not for me. That's fine.
Oh, one that's devil's work.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any other interesting, sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, like people see it as like a cult, devil's work. It's just like another name for it, like a cult.
Do you get what are some other, like, has anyone else given you pushback? Be like, oh, is that like blank, or like anything that's kind of like funny?
No, I feel like I just don't attract those kind of people in my life. I'm just so secure in what I'm doing, and I know this is who I am. Like, I feel like I don't attract that kind of energy around me. It hasn't been an issue. And if it is, here we are.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, you said you got a lot of support this week. So like, did you think that, like, you knew this moment was going to come because you knew you weren't aligned with that other job and that other life? Did you expect the support? Were you just open to it? Were you shocked by it? Like, what was it like when you like literally did what you said you were going to do, and then people were like, yes?
Well, it's that shift in energy, and that was a major trust fall. And one basic line that people hear a lot is, the things that scare you the most are the ones that are going to be the most powerful for you. And same thing when you do like an energetic shift. That was a major release of an identity. You know, I just released something that I worked so hard for, worked so many years for. I was really good at, and I made good money doing it. And I left it for something that's authentic with who I am. And so when I did that, that took care of that was like a level of self-love to reach. Like that wasn't aligned with me anymore. And so like the podcast fell into place. I had new clients show up in my email. I had like other readers who I've worked with support me, and they like tag me in their posts, and it's all aligning, and it's just like it was handed to me.
People that like the new customers, did you know them before? Like, did they
Totally new.
do you know how they found you?
My website, through other readers, like when people were tagging me, like they would look and be like, wow, I aligned with that. And they felt aligned to work with me.
You have this, you don't have really like an ego. It doesn't seem like you're very.
I mean, I'm a human, I have an ego, but I live more in what will make me happy. And so you can't have an ego when you're doing what makes you happy.
What was your process like as you kind of felt your ego melt away? Because I know Eckhart Tolle talks about, he mentioned like you can't really have an ego in the now. I don't know if he said that exactly, but it felt like that. Like when you're in the now, when you're in the moment, you're just there. You're not thinking about the past. You're not worrying about the future. Like it's not really an egocentric thing. Like like for me, like I think my ego is pretty strong, and that's kind of one of the things that I'm working on, is trying to balance it. Because I can't go into court for a trial and not be like, oh, like I'll just let the chips fall. Like I need to be like,
But you could.
I don't think that would work.
Talk about ego. Ego is like your limiting beliefs, your fears. Fears is huge. I mean, obviously that's your fears, and your conditioned like identity. Think about anytime. That's one thing that really helps too, is like journaling a lot of when you have a fear of something, write down the worst case scenario and write down why that doesn't matter. Because if that happens, it's meant to happen. And it like, here's all the steps they're going to follow through, like of getting you to where you really are supposed to be, of what's going to make you happy truly. And that's the thing. It's like, let's think of an example here. So there's taking care of your well-being and following what makes you happy and like a truth form of what's going to make you happy versus like what an ego is going to make you happy, like money or getting a certain thing, when in reality that really isn't going to truly make you happy, right? Does that follow? Am I missing the point here for you?
No, I'm asking you to speak, what you
Well, I just want to resonate with you so I can push it forward. So you have this thing that your ego self would make you happy, but in reality, there's like the truth of what's going to make you happy. If you keep following your truth and your authentic self, what makes you happy, those things are going to be aligned, but things that are going to be fear-based are going to fall away. And a lot of times that's like a tower moment in tarot, like where your foundation is completely broken down so you can build it back up, because like you had a false foundation before. And now everything gets wiped away because that wasn't truly aligned with who you are. So like you're always supported in that. When things don't go the way you want them to, or the way your ego thinks they need to be, it's scary. But when you just allow it to happen, you're knowing that what's coming forward is going to be support. Blue, stop. My dog's psycho. What's going to be supported is building you and pushing you towards what's going to truly make you happy. Always.
A tower. Sorry, what are you saying?
So that's a card in tarot. This is the tower. And it's this card where everything's crashing around this person. Like there's people falling out of a literal tower. And the basis of that card is everything that is not aligned with who you are and where you're trying to be gets shattered and dropped out of your life. It could be like losing a job, or like the job being taken away from you because it's not aligned with you. You weren't doing the steps to release it on your own. So the universe came in and took it out for you. So an ego base, you could think like, wow, I really needed that job. This is what made me happy. It gave me stability. But in reality, it didn't make you happy. It didn't give you stability. It drained your energy to be where you need to be happy. And so they can bring a job that would make you happier. Or like a relationship, like a certain relationship gets taken away from you. The next person's always better than who you like thought it was going to be. I can see it in your brain, like calculating.
You always make me think.
Good.
And I try to, and one of the things I'm trying to do too is be like, it's okay to have a couple seconds of just what's processed. Because I feel like on the podcast, or even I caught myself doing this in trial this week. There were a couple times where I should have just paused. I was okay to take a pause or taking a longer pause, and I didn't. And it bothered me because I'm like, I know you're better than that. You are better than that. But then at the same time, I said, well, I got the result that I thought we should get. And I thought that it was like, why did that need, like, why do I have to have that pause? It's like, it's kind of like what Eckhart Tolle talked about, like that chatter. There's just this constant chatter. And it's so hard for me. Like, so before we got on, I meditated for probably like a good hour.
Impressive.
Yeah. Well, but it was tough though, because I was like, for me, it's so hard to just sit and be like, okay, this is fine. You know, I'm like, okay, like what's Eckhart Tolle talk about, like feeling like, okay, like, oh, your fingers feel your jeans. Okay. It feels like that's a nice, I don't know, material. But you don't even think about that. Like he's talking about, like when you wash your hands, like feel the water, like look at the bubbles in the soap. And it's like, when you meditate, it's a little different. I don't know. I feel like everyone's got to find their practice, but for me, it's like tough to just like, I'll be sitting there and I'm like, everything, I'll close my eyes. I'm like, oh, okay, everything's good. And then I'll be like, did you pay the electric bill? Like,
no, that meditation was not easy for me. It took me so long to build that practice for myself. I'm actually creating a course for that right now. And I'm super excited about it because I took every piece of resistance I found on my path to finding meditation, and it's releasing it week by week in this course. And people have this idea of what meditation is, and that's ego-based as well. Meditation is just making yourself feel better and connecting with your own energy. And so that's the thing, is like finding that connection, like finding that feel good, finding that energy that just feels authentic, and following that. And that's how you can receive your answers. I feel like guided meditations, like finding more of those, not like from like find one that's a more spiritual based one. That's like the answers that you need. I'll send you some. Once again, I don't want to, the whole integrity thing, to share your business here.
yeah, no, I understand. Well, that's a big thing for you, right? So when someone meets with you and they decide to do this, they're pretty vulnerable. How do you guide them to I guess maybe guide isn't the right word, but like how does that affect you when someone opens up like that?
Well, it's a judgment-free zone. And I feel like once people connect with my energy and they start working with me, I've never had someone have that fear in front of me. I've never had someone have a doubt with it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like when it's that energetic, like contract in a way, like when someone's like asking me for a reading and they show up, it's like they can feel that. It's never been a question. Like when you showed up for your session, did you ever feel like I was going to judge you or share your business or any like negative aspects of it? Did you feel that when you met with me?
No, it didn't feel like the person I knew. It felt like you were there, but you also weren't there. You were just like this, you were
An open channel to deliver.
It did. And it struck me right away. Like it was like, okay, there's something different. And it was very open. Because I don't open myself up I'll be in court and I
give these questions and like these beliefs that I never even thought of. But I think it's because I do work at such like a high level of integrity. Like I do have such a pure intention for my work and what I'm doing and how I want to help people, that I feel like these things never even show up in my life.
What do you mean these things?
Like how people question like what I'm doing, like the woo-woo stuff, or like have a doubt of my work, or the judgmental thing or anything. None of that stuff ever shows up. It's never been, but I think it's just because I have set such pure intentions. I do work from such a place of integrity, of just wanting people to receive what they need to shift their life and find the path of alignment.
How have you, because you seem like you have this, so you work with people on getting aligned and releasing some of the things that are blocking them. You're building this meditation course. like where does this come from? Like you have the, like, were you always this entrepreneurial? Like where, it seems like you have this, you like one idea kind of flows to the next, or is that like because you open yourself up to the universe, this is just where you're being kind of, I don't want to say pulled, maybe guided to go?
Guided. I do try to work with just like universal flow. Like when an idea comes to me, I know that it's guided and it feels right. And, we're put on these paths for a reason to help our soul develop. And we come here with a purpose, and it's finding that. And it's like recognizing all the things that you struggled with, you can help other people with. I struggled with connecting with this like spiritual realm. I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Southern Illinois where this is not a thing. Like what I'm doing is not. And I always thought that I would be like met with obstacles with telling my parents about it too, but they've never said anything weird to me about it. I feel like they're probably in their head like, what the hell is this girl doing? And they don't know the truth of me quitting my job either. But
unless they subscribe to this podcast, they'll find out on Monday.
But no, it's just like once I understood that when I'm in the flow, I get those intuitive hits of where I'm being guided, where I'm being led, instead of me trying to force things in an ego base and like forcing steps of like getting my business going and like following my purpose. I allowed myself to just be guided. It's like when you surrender to your path, it's just easy and it flows. It's just like a creative process of just connecting with your own energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's just thinking about that.
Finding alignment. Sorry to cut you off. Finding alignment. You're in that flow of that universal energy of who you are, where things just flow to you. You attract, you receive what's meant for you. And so it's just easier. That's this life of alignment. It's just an easy life. It's effortless. You don't have to force. You don't have to try. It just, you attract and you receive it.
I feel like there's a lot of spiritual blockage going on right now in society.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's conditioning. It's what we have always been shown that this is how it needs to be. Fear of money, fear of time, time and money are an illusion. It's not real. All of this isn't real, in the same way. And we're about to get even deeper and like blow your mind over here. And it's, we're chasing something that isn't real, when in reality, we just need to chase our well-being. That's that next step, that next book I was telling you about. I'm really excited for you.
What do you mean time isn't real? I know what you mean, but I'm curious for someone out there. What do you mean by time isn't real? At least I think I know.
Like your static linear time, and then there's like your dynamic time. Linear time is like what we're accustomed to knowing, like next year, week from now, literal time on a clock. And dynamic time is like when you shift through a certain energetic pathway. Lifetimes. I believe in past lives and how everything's just kind of stacked. Like all time is happening at the same time in reality. This is very hard to put into words for myself right now. So it's past lives, everything, it's all happening at the same time. So it's an illusion. It's not real. Calculating, I see it.
I have a, do you ever see the movie Arrival?
No.
The plot of the movie is, it's really about a relationship. And so I'm going to do a little spoiler alert. Are you okay with this? It came out 5 years ago. Okay.
I couldn't tell you the last time I sat down and watched a movie. I'm terrible at it, where I could literally have this movie in front of me and I wouldn't know. So for all I know, I've seen this.
Do you watch TV?
Kind of. Like TV will be on, but I'm like doing laundry and like in a meditative space almost always.
I don't, so you can't see it, but I have a TV, but it hasn't, I've been living in my apartment for a year now and haven't turned it on once. I don't think it's on, like, I don't even miss it.
I can't focus on it. I have like my TV, and then underneath it, it's like a million books where I'm like, oh, I'd rather read that than rot my brain.
It does feel like the TV is just, it's just conditioning. It's just mental conditioning. And if you're not careful, you can really mess yourself up. And I used to just think, oh, like, this is just a cool story. And it's like, someone wrote that story with an intention to get something in your head. Like I think about reality TV. like to me, reality TV it's mental poison. Like The Bachelor, I think is just literally, and I watched a lot of The Bachelor in the past.
I've seen one episode of The Bachelor.
They're smart. You're very smart. You're a genius.
But I've watched a lot of Kardashians, so
see that there's some interesting programming, right? What do you see from that show? I mean, you see they're entrepreneurial, but you get, all the drama. Like to me, I think one of the biggest issues that no one wants to talk about is that these reality TV shows are so dramatic. And then people see that and they think, oh, that's how I should act. Like, for example, I've been in prior relationships where there was like an element of drama where like people couldn't just be happy. It was like there had to be like that one more thing. Like, well, what about this? And maybe I still carry that with me now. Like, oh, I like before my recent trial, I was like, well, I really want to get a win because I've never won. Well, first off, I thought the guy was guilty. I wouldn't have went to trial if I didn't think he was guilty. And the jury came back in 20 minutes. So clearly they thought he was pretty guilty too. So I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think he was guilty. I don't think anything to trial if I'm not like, I believe we can 100% prove this case and it happened. But I wanted the win because it was my first time as a first chair. So I was kind of leading the trial. But then I was like, let's say I lose. Let's say I lose 100 trials in a row as first chair. Does it matter that I didn't get why does it matter that I had to get the win as the first chair? And I've thought, even after I got the win, I was like, okay, now I want to get a win as a first chair as a felony because I've never done that. Well, wouldn't that be pretty cool? And it's like, but why do you need that? Why is that that was never a thing before. It was like, oh, I want to go into law. And now I'm like, well, I need this because if I don't get this, and then I'm like, well, why? That wasn't a thing. It's just like, oh, you did this. Now you need to do this. I don't get it.
Conditioning and what you think it should be. It doesn't have to be that way, like you said. And maybe you can set those goals, but from a different intention, like from a pure intention. Maybe find like a positive space to attain those goals and like what success is to you. Like maybe change like your belief on what success is.
So what's success to you?
Happiness, taking care of my well-being, flowing with what will make me happy.
What are some I shouldn't say easy. What are like a couple things that you'd recommend to someone who's listening to this and they're like, well, I don't know if I'm ready for like a session, but I definitely want to like what are a couple, I don't say life hacks. What are some things that you think someone could do like right after listening to this that might give them maybe a little more clarity or just maybe help open things up?
Find a book that they resonate with, like something that like, if they are truly open to that they're ready to step into that next pathway, they will be given those steps. Like, I can't tell that to you because it's going to be different for everyone, but if they put themselves in that energy, that level of energy, and they have themselves in that frequency, they will be guided towards what's next for them, whether that be asking for support from someone like me where they get a session. Maybe it's not me. Maybe they find someone will be put on their path. Maybe it's a certain book. Maybe it's they start journaling, but journaling is great. Like working with affirmations, just getting your feelings in paper in front of you helps you organize them and helps you see where your next step should be, where you're not happy, and following that path.
Do you look back on prior, I assume you journal a little bit because you mentioned that.
Right? Journal a lot.
You journal a lot. Okay. What is your journaling practice? Do you just what does it look like for you?
That's totally evolved too. I mean, I have journals from back when I first started this journey, and it's like truly heartbreaking, but it's also just amazing to see how much I've grown. But it used to go from just where I was, what wasn't making me happy, the things that I was just focusing on in my day-to-day life. And it's funny how I shifted that focus, which you can see, it's like I was focusing on the negatives. Yeah. I wasn't focusing on like solution-based idea, how I can basically shift that, or how I can, or what would make me happy. I only focused on those things that weren't making me happy in my life at that time. So it's the law of attraction. When that's all you're focusing on, that's all you're going to attract in your life. And that's rung true for me. And when I started shifting that and focusing on what would make me happy and where I do want to be in my life, that's when I started attracting those steps to get me there. And that's also when my life completely turned upside down and all these things that did make me happy were falling away. But just allowing that path.
was there, when you look back on it, what do you think helped you shift, or what was like the shift from focusing on the negative to focusing on the positive? Do you think it just organically happened? Was there something you read? Like, what do you remember what that process, like, what was that like for you?
Focusing on things to be grateful for. I think it was the power of now is what really shifted my perspective on a lot of things and got me into programming myself to get in a more positive mindset of attracting those things that make me happy now. So being grateful in the moment. So thinking of all the things that make me grateful. And sometimes all those is like the most basic things in your life. And like when you get to those really low points, that's all you can focus on, or those
Yeah.
little my dog's my number one. Like if I'm ever in like a super low space and I need something to instantly make me happier, I just think of my dog. Like when I came home from work and how happy she is. But just like clinging on to those little things in your life that make you happy, and you'll attract more of those.
Was there, I'm trying to think of, maybe I didn't word it, like, you were negative, now you're super positive. Like, you said it was like focusing on being grateful, but like, where did that come from? Like, did you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people would have, like, they can listen and, okay, I guess that makes sense. Just kind of focus on what to be grateful for. But like, you had this more negativity mindset. Now you're this completely, like 180 is not even the way to put it, but like you, like to me, like you're a completely different person. Like, was there, did you struggle through it? Like, I'm sure, I mean, like,
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, 100%. But it's like, so the way it works when you're focusing on things to be grateful for. So appreciation is the highest vibe energy there is. And that's what, when you're getting in that mindset of being grateful for what you have, you're putting yourself in that energy of being appreciative. So you're raising your vibration. And in every day you can recognize more things that make you happy, more things that to be grateful for. You're continuing to raise your vibration and get to that level of positivity where you just naturally throughout your day will start recognizing more of that good stuff. So you'll attract more of that good stuff in your life. And so it's easier to stay positive. It's easier to maintain and reach that higher vibration. Does that make sense?
yeah, there's someone I listen to his podcast named Scott Adams, and he got me on the affirmation, I want to say bandwagon. That sounds, I don't think that's he convinced me to try affirmations. And then I've found that they have a very positive benefit in my life. Like one of them I used to say, so I used to ride my bike to work. This is 2018, 2019. And I would say, I, Eric Vernston, am going to be a trial attorney. And I would just say that 10, 15 times. And now I've done 5 jury trials. Like it's kind of crazy. Like it happened. And I guess you could always say, well, you applied for the job, you got the job, you were always going to do it, but not
You attract
necessarily.
that into your life, because what went from I'm going to be started becoming like reality for you. Like it was there. And the more you said it, the closer you attracted that opportunity into your life. And so then it became reality because you manifested, and law of attraction, you attracted that opportunity to apply for that job. Because when you first started out for this, that job probably wasn't there to apply for, and you didn't know how to apply for it. And it wasn't even in your
No.
reality. So the more you said that, the more you attracted that in. And so you received it. So boom, law of attraction right in front of you. Magic is what I call it. Magic.
It is. It is. What are some of do you have any affirmations that you'd be comfortable sharing that you have done? What are
I
some
am
of yours?
supported. I am always supported. I love watching my business grow because those things are powerful and it's true. And you get to see it happen. And I would switch your affirmations from I'm going to be to I am. Make it your reality. Make it your now. Don't make it something that is something to attain. Like I love watching my business grow. If I was to make it, I love being a millionaire, like, or my business brought in all this money, that's like future tense. What's something I can meet with? Like, it's also, you can't just make an affirmation of something that you can't reach that belief yet. Like it's something that feels unattainable to you because that's not going to work. So you have to meet your affirmation with where you are. So mine is, I love watching my business grow because it's true. And then I see it grow.
Yeah. So I am blank, or I love blank, or maybe I want to put specific words because everyone's a little different, but maybe, so I, in the present tense. So here's one I say, I am becoming and will become a billionaire. So should I switch that to, again, I know you're not trying to, I don't want to say should I, because maybe that's not the way to frame it. But if I'm using your frame of reference of I am, maybe I should say like I am wealthy.
Well, billionaire, that puts a cap at what money you can make too. So you're limiting your affirmation already right there. So money loves me. I attract money from everywhere. Money comes from more than just my job. Like there's so many affirmations that are great with trying to attract abundance. Like I'm a very abundant person. Abundance flows to me. I'm in flow with money. Like that's helping to release that next block where, do you see how saying that I'm a billionaire puts a cap on it? So it limits that affirmation a bit too.
Yeah. Now when you're saying it out loud, I'm like, oh, I feel so dirty kind of thinking that. Like, I don't know if I like that one anymore. Cause I kind of look at it like on the one hand, yeah, maybe like, why do I need to worry about, I shouldn't, maybe I shouldn't even think about that. Like, that's really, when you said it out loud like that, it really didn't feel aligned. Yeah. I'm not trying to just say that. It like felt kind of, I had like a, ugh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that anymore. Like that doesn't feel.
I vortex write all the time is what it's called. So Abraham Hicks, she talks about vortex writing. So you just sit there and you think of what your dream life is and everywhere it looks, but more so how it feels and how that would make you feel. And then you just focus on that feeling and being appreciative of it. And that's how you attract more of that into your life as well. There's so many YouTube videos of Abrams as well. And I always see the one that I need to in that moment. But law of attraction and working with that with affirmations, it's magic.
What'd you say, Abram Hicks?
Abram Hicks, but that's the Ask and It Is Given book. That's my second favorite, like most powerful catalyst to change in my life was Ask and It Is Given.
Have you thought about writing a book describing your journey?
I haven't, but now it's in my vortex because you said it. So it's probably something that's meant for me.
So right now you're working with people on opening, you're developing courses. Like what for you? So you said kind of like, I love seeing my business grow. Is that kind of where you're at? Like just generally speaking, you're kind of open to seeing where things go. But right now.
Yeah. My work is always changing. My work is always evolving. I mean, even from 6 months ago, my work is changing and how I help people and like my own little niche of how I'm meant to help people. It's amazing. And it's so much fun to watch myself grow, watch my gifts grow, watch my ability to help people grow and expand. And that's what we're meant to do. And it's going to be way bigger than I expect it to be. And the way I see things now, it's going to expand. It's going to shift into something totally different, but it's is fun to watch yourself grow, watch your business grow. So that's where the affirmation came. Did I answer that?
You answered everything, not just today, but I wasn't surprised. I went into it open-minded, but because we knew each other from kind of a prior life, I guess you could say. And
100%.
Yeah, for literally both of us. It would be interesting to think when you look back, because we met in 2017, maybe?
Yeah, 2017. I moved here in 2016. So it was in that realm when I first moved to Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, completely different. I think you had Lou. I think Lou was like this big though. Or no, maybe not. I don't know. There she is.
My favorite coworker. Always transmuting energy. Sure.
So here, I'll get you out on this. I'll get you out on this one. What do you, I guess for someone like let's just look at both of us. We've had completely different lives over the past, like we've shifted completely. If you're someone out there who, let's say someone's in a relationship and this isn't the best question to get out. Well, maybe we'll see, but like, let's say someone's in a relationship and they feel like they're not being their true selves. Like, how do you think they should navigate that?
Well, think of what that looks like for them. Like what does that vortex writing, like what does their dream life look like? And does that relationship align with that? And if it doesn't, it will naturally fall away from them. Like they don't need to force anything. They don't need to do, it will just naturally fall away. Like either like once you start getting those feelings, and if it truly isn't aligned, either that person's going to end it for you or do something drastic that's going to end it, or you're going to be guided to in that relationship. It's like, you don't ever have to force things. It just will naturally, if it's not aligned with you and where you're wanting to be. But that vortex writing would be the answer. So vortex write of what your dream life looks like, what that dream relationship looks like, how that makes you feel, how that relationship makes you feel. And if that relationship is meant to expand and shift with you like that, then it'll stay. If not, and it's not authentic with you, it'll fall away.
What's your dream life?
Living by the beach with Lou, waking up, having someone who cooks for me, like have a chef where I never have to think about feeding myself. It's just there. Getting to do my work, it not feeling like work, having a really balanced life between work and living my life, like a house full of ginger babies and dogs and plants and critters as far as the eye can see, just being able to take care of my well-being.
Well, it sounds like you're headed there. So where would you recommend? I mean, although I would say if I should be careful with my limiting belief of billionaire, maybe you have a limiting belief of ginger babies because maybe they're just.
I have my future husband set up for success. I mean, Ginger, we're there, like.
I get it. My beard comes in red. Where can people find you?
My website, so propagatingalignment.com, my Instagram. I'm going to start posting TikToks more, and all my content from TikTok gets put to my Instagram. But if you feel called to book a session, you can or request a booking on my website. But yeah, I'm excited. If someone's called to my work, they can. I have single sessions or have an 8-week program that's an intensive where it's written out all in there, but it shifts you completely from your old life to where you're wanting to be in a more authentic, aligned path.
Shelby, Rene, I love what you're doing. And I think it's so interesting how the universe works. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like
Magic.
Magic?
Magic.
It is magic. Well, I thank you so much for not just coming on, but I love what you're doing. And it's your positive energy is just exciting. It's just like, it just comes right through. I can feel it. And it's so nice to talk and connect with someone who is so positive and is just so open to helping people, especially in the last couple of years, which have been pretty nuts for a lot of people. And I could see for me, even though I thought I kind of had myself in a place, like working with you has been awesome. And it's really helped me out. Reading the first book by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. I'm still got a ways to go, but as we talked about before we went on, it's really helped me to realize that there's just so much chatter going on. And I feel like even though we met 3 weeks ago, 3-ish, I've already felt a great shift and kind of a weight off me. So I thank you so much for that. Do you have anything, any parting thoughts for anyone listening?
It's just like being open to support. Like you never realize how much you need it until you start allowing yourself to receive it. And I just wish there was a me on my path when I first started this. And I know how much I can help other people with that. So if like you're struggling, like don't feel like you have to do it alone. And like if you are starting on a spiritual journey, it makes you feel isolated and you don't need to be. So just like don't be afraid to reach out for support, whether that's from me or someone else. Like just be okay with that.
Amazing. Shelby, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a wonderful day and best of luck with propagating alignment. And I will have all the posts and all the notes available for anyone who is interested and wants to book a session or more.
Well, thanks for having me and thanks for the kind words and everything.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
As a quick disclaimer, the show is not sponsored by, officially, unofficially by the Department of Defense, the United States military, or the United States Army. It is not the official or unofficial position of the United States Army, the Department of Defense, or the U.S. military, I think I said. Check out Propagating Alignment. We have worked together. It was fantastic. I'll have all the notes in the show, and I will talk to you later.